Okay, so we are on Surah Inshiqaq. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انشَقَّتْ, when the earth, when the skies are inshaqqat, are ripped apart or split apart. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ, وَأَذِنَتْ, and it seeks or it responds to its Lord, وَحُقَّتْ, and it is duty bound to respond. وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ, and when the earth is stretched, وَأَلْقَتْ مَا فِيهَا وَتَخَلَّتْ, and it casts out whatever is in it, وَتَخَلَّتْ, and it becomes empty. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ, and responds to its Lord, and it is duty bound to respond. يَا أَيُّهَا الْإِنسَانُ, O human beings, O mankind, إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ, verily you are toiling, إِلَى رَبِّكَ, to your Lord, كَدَحًا, with a toil, with a weariness, with hard work, with exhaustion, فَمُلَاقِيهِ, and then you will meet him. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ, so when you meet him, there will be one of two outcomes. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ, as for the one that received or is given his book بِيَمِينِهِ, in his right hand, فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا, then certainly that person will be reckoned with a light reckoning. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا, and he will return to his family in delight and joy. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ, as for the one that is given his book behind his back. فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا, then surely he will call out for destruction. وَيَصْلَى سَعِيرًا, and he will burn and he will enter into the blaze. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فِي أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا, verily he was in his family, he was delighted and overjoyed. إِنَّهُ ظَنَّ أَن لَن يَحُورَ, and certainly he thought that he would never return back to life. Bala, nay, certainly he will return back to life. Inna Rabbahu, indeed his Lord, kana bihi basira, his Lord was and always is with him seeing. Fala uqsimu bishafaq, so no to their denials. Uqsimu, I Allah, I take an oath, bishafaq, by the twilight. وَاللَّيْلِ وَمَا وَسَقْ, and by the night and that which it gathers. وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا اتَّسَقَ, and by the moon as it becomes full. لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ, you will certainly journey and travel and ride stage after stage, stage upon stage. So we ended there. Now, also a good place to end if you're reciting in Salah, if you don't want to make sajda. Generally what happens is that you make Salah, you mustn't actually make you mustn't choose a surah to make the to make people make a sajda. Do you know what I mean? If it comes up, it's fine. Like, you know, when they're reading a khatam, so it comes up. But you don't deliberately choose a surah to make people make a sajda. I don't even price yourself, I must check inshallah. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So now it's going to be, remember, as you are shifting in, because sometimes these shifts are so subtle, we don't like apply our mind, but you can see that the subject matter is changing. Because Allah spoke about what? Allah spoke about, if you go just in terms of time, when Allah speaks, إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انشَقَّتْ, Allah speaking about the end of time. You with me? When Allah speaks about يَا أَيُّهَا الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَادِحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ, Allah speaking about the present time. You are toiling to your Lord until you're going to meet him. Then Allah moves again to the year after. Man utiya kitabahu biyamini and shimal and wara dhahri, again to the year after. And then Allah speaks about innahu kana fi ahli masrura, Allah speaking about here. Then Allah takes an oath, and the oath is like a general oath, but the conclusion of the oath is that you will go stage after stage after stage, you'll travel through these stages of time. But now the shift comes again to the present. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So you can see there's a shift in the tense. What does fa mean? So when you use a fa, you're always linking it to something in the past. You can't say Assalamu alaikum. So I went into the house and I drank. Like the so there wouldn't be a plop. You say if you're starting a new story, you say I went into the house. You won't start the sentence so I went, or then I went in the house. Because like we didn't say anything else before that. So a fa is always going to link to something previously. So when you see a fa, you must think about what is it going to link to. And ulama will give you different opinions, but what do you think it could be linked to? Now, if you look at, before you answer the question, look at what Allah is saying. Allah is saying, فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what is with them that they do not believe? So is it referring to believers or non-believers? Non-believers, mushrikun, or people who are denying Allah. So where in the previous ayah can that link off? Could be? It could be linking to فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ. That your outcome is going to be that you're going to get your book behind your back and you're going to burn in the hellfire. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what is wrong with them? Why don't they want to believe after hearing that outcome? That could be the one. Where else could it be? Okay, we'll come back to the national. Now we come to the oath. The oath says, لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. Mean what? That you will ride stage after stage. In other words, you will ride a stage in this life, and in the grave, and in the resurrection, and in judgment, and in hell and hellfire. You go stage after stage. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what is wrong with them when they are denying the stages? They do not want to believe. That could be that. You mentioned the other one, Irshad? But that is mentioning what the person is believing. Inna dhanna an la yahur is mentioning what he is believing. It could be like linked to those things. It could link to his general denial, basically. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. No. Or the other last one could be linked to, it could even be linked to يَا أَيُّهَا الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ. That you are toiling and you are struggling and you are going to your Lord and you're going to meet your Lord. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Why do they not want to believe? So that when you come to a fa in the Quran, you must see what is linked to. So just fa. So because when you get stuck in translation mode, you forget that there's also a message behind the translation. Fama lahum. Fama. Ma means what? What? It's a question. What's a question in Arabic? The question in Arabic is so you can use or istifham. That's ma istifham. Fahima means to understand. Istafhama yastafimu. Istifhaman. On the 10th bab, we'll come to it inshallah. The 10th bab is the master of the 10th bab, means to seek understanding. That is the ma of asking a question. But you can ask a question in different ways. Is Allah wanting an answer from this question? It's almost like when you scold your child. Your child does some crazy stuff. You say like, what is wrong with you? What the child say? Mommy, I actually inherited your genes and therefore I'm just like you. You're not looking for an answer. Well, why are you telling the child what is wrong for you? What is wrong with you? What's the intention behind the question? You're not answering, you're not looking for an answer. What are you looking for? They say the ma is for ta'ajjub. Because you're trying to express how like weird this thing is, like no, what is wrong with you? Like it's ta'ajjub, it's therefore for saying like, it's ajib, how you don't listen, or it's like, what I mean? It's like, it depends how it is. Now, anyway, so Allah is like telling like the slaves, فَمَا لَهُمْ. Like, can't they see? Can't they see anything? Can't they see that they were born? Can't they see the shafaq? Can't they see the wasaq, the ittasaq? Can't they see anything? فَمَا لَهُمْ. So the ma there is a what in the sense of ta'ajjub. فَمَا لَهُمْ. So what is wrong with them, the disbelievers? لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. La, they do not يُؤْمِنُونَ. I was going to use a number of verbs here. يُؤْمِنُونَ, يَسْجُدُونَ, يُكَذِّبُونَ. What type of verbs are those? Madhi or mudari?
Mudari.
Mudari verbs always start with anaitu. Anaitu means alif, noon, yata. Okay, mudari verb always starts with alif, noon, yata. Most common in the Quran, yanata. Yaf'alu, taf'alu, taf'aluna, alif, af'alu, and noon, naf'alu. So you can see the pattern of mudari verb is going to be there. Yu'minun, yasjudun, yukadhibun. What is the quality of the mudari verb? Is the action finished? No. Remember, a Maldi verb has the quality of in the past, it also has the quality of
continuous.
and also the quality of once off. Maldi. Mudari has incomplete meaning, it means ongoing, it is continuous. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. What is wrong with them? That they keep not believing. Is it one da'wah to them, many da'wahs? Did the Prophet make one da'wah to them or many da'wahs? One call to them, many calls?
One call.
Many calls.
Many calls. He's living with them for like 13 years. What is he doing? He's living for 53 years, but 13 of those is a Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What's he doing for the 13 years? He's calling them. He's calling them, he's debating with them, they're watching him, they're opposing him, he's responding to them. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Year after year, month after month, they keep denying, they keep not believing. وَإِذَا قُرِيَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنِ. وَإِذَا, and إِذَا, when. And when. قُرِيَ. What قُرِيَ mean? Like فُعِلَ, like قُتِلَ, like نُصِرَ. قَرَأَ means he recited. Quriya means?
Recited.
Okay, so generally happens is that when you have a normal sentence, you have a fa'il and you have maf'ul. You can say qara'a ar-rasulu al-Qur'ana. Qara'a ar-rasulu al-Qur'ana, which means what? The messenger recited the Qur'an. But if I want to say the Qur'an was recited, I say what? Quri'a al-Qur'anu. Quri'a al-Qur'anu. The Qur'an was recited. And if I take Qur'anu away, and I say Quri'a, I assume that Qur'anu is inside of Quri'a. It's the huwa inside is, okay, to make it technical, inside there's a huwa. The huwa is the na'ibul fa'il, which is referring to the Qur'an. So in other words, qara'a ar-rasulu al-Qur'ana. Let me just do it step by step quickly. Because when you have a majhul verb, then the thing that the action was done to is going to become in rafa. Okay, actually, we'll get into Bash inshallah. Zakaria also tell inshallah. Wa idha quriya, and when is recited. Sorry, the Quran side is coming later in the verse. Now, and when is recited, alayhim. What's alayhim? Upon them. Normally, when you have recitation and revelation, you can recite something ila or ala. Generally, ala. There's more responsibility. Whereas ila, there's more it's like a favor for them. So if something is ala, is upon you, it's like a duty upon you. If it's ila, it's like a gift to you. So there's a difference in, obviously you must follow the Quran either way, but there's a difference in the tone of it. وَإِذَا قُرِيَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Alayhim now means as a duty, they are duty bound to follow the Quran. The ala there is a duty. In other times, Allah will use ila because the tone of the surah is different. Here the tone is the tone of rebuke. وَإِذَا قُرِيَ عَلَيْهِمْ. And when is recited alayhim, upon them, al-Qur'anu, the Quran is recited upon them, la yasjudun. They do not make sujood, prostrate. You make sujood now, inshallah. We just talk about sujood first. La yasjudun. What does la yasjudun mean? They do not prostrate. So sajda can mean different things. Sajda is what? Is an expression of humility, of surrender. So la yasjudun could mean that they literally do not bow down and prostrate. But la yasjudun can also mean what? They don't submit enough to it. You don't make sujood in terms of mentally, in terms of emotionally, in terms of intellectually. People don't make sujood to the Quran. Because no matter how good of a student or scholar you are, how intelligent you are, you can't figure out all of Allah's kalam and all of Allah's sharia and His wisdom and hikmah. There's a point in Islam also where you say, I make sujood to something, which means I accept even though I don't fully understand everything. maybe later surrender. That's Islam, surrender. That's exactly what Islam actually is. So the la yasjudun also is mudari here because you have to continuously actually submit to the wisdom and guidance of the Quran. So I asked you to look for homework. How many sajdas are there in the Quran? How many did you find? You found 50.
14.
14. So basically there's 11 sajdas that all the madhab agree upon. So now the first thing is, how do we know when we must make sujood? How do you know when you come to ayah make sujood? Besides there's a line there. How did the printer know you must put a line there?
When there's the word sajda in the verse or something to do with sujood.
Okay, maybe by the meaning, but there's another way, a more important way. When the Prophet makes sujood, we make sujood. So in other words, the sajdas are not based really on meaning. The sajdas are based on the practice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he made sujood, we make sujood. You with me? When he makes sujood, we make sujood. How would we know when he made sujood? Where do we find that?
In the margin.
From the hadith.
We find from hadith. So hadith are different categories. Long story hadith, what hadith is. Hadith are different categories of authenticity. So basically 11 of the places of sujood, the hadith is unequivocal, there's no contradiction. All the madhab agree on the 11. In fact, the Malikis only have 11 sajdas. The Malikis don't make, this is one of the ikhtilaf ones. Then on the rest of them, there is ikhtilaf on whether the Prophet made sujood. Either there's ikhtilaf on the hadith, or there are indications that perhaps he made sujood and perhaps he didn't make sujood. Like there's a conflict in the hadith. And therefore there's going to be ikhtilaf in the other madhahib. Both the Hanafis and the Shafis make 14, but we make a different 14. We make 13 the same, but one way of ikhtilaf. And then the Hanbalis make 15 spots. They take all. The Hanbalis take 15. It's a good question. I don't know what the Mushaf's madhab, I didn't check it. That's a good likely is. So this year is going to be a sajda in our, well, if you're Shafi, it will be a sajda in the Shafi madhab. I mean, also the hukum of sujood is what? In the Shafi madhab, the hukum of sujood is sunnah, which means that you are rewarded if you do it, but if you don't do it, you're not punished. It's not compulsory to make sujood when you come to a sajda. It's sunnah in the Shafi madhab, in the Hanafi madhab is wajib. Now,
Malana, you say that in the Shafi madhab, they only take 14. So which one is omitted out of the 15?
which one is omitted? I take the 2 of Surah Hajj. I can't remember which one is omitted now again. I'll check it, inshallah.
Okay.
That was actually your homework.
Yes, but I found all 15. And then in the 39 Quran, it does have all 15 marked.
Also, yeah, so normally what happens is that the Masahif will mention all 15, but based on your madhab, you must know where to make sujood.
Okay.
So if you're Maliki only in 11 places, and you're Hanbali in 15 places, and Shafi and Hanafi 14 places, but you must know which one you don't make sujood in. Okay. I'll check it inshallah. So in the Shafi madhab, it is sunnah to make sujood. So sujood has only 4 things you must do. So you must make the niyyah of sujood. Obviously, if you're in salah, you don't make a loud niyyah. Like you're watching the وَقُلِ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنَ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. Now wait to sunnah al-wujud and go down. Like you don't say anything. So the mahal of the niyyah is the heart. The person niyyah is the heart anyway. You make the niyyah, you must make the takbir. So when you say, you must say Allahu Akbar. You must say Allahu Akbar to make sujood. You can make it from standing or sitting. If so, it is in the salah and out of salah. Let's talk out of salah now, out of the salah. So basically, if I make takbir, you must say Allahu Akbar. You can make it from standing or sitting. Like if you're on the floor, you have to stand up first. You can sit and make it as well. Then you must go down into sujood. You must hold it there for the length of 1 subhanallah at least. You can read the normal thing you read in sujood, or some of the ulama say you can read a dua based on the place you're making sujood. You can make like Allahumma aj'alni min alladhina yasjuduna lil Quran. Allah, make me from those who make sujood for the Quran. Because that's what the ayah is saying here. You can make a contextual thing, and when you come up from sujood, you must make a assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. You must have wudu for sujood also, inshallah. So those of you who have wudu, inshallah, you can face the qibla, and then you can make your sujood, inshallah. So make one sujood and you come up. Inshallah. If you're at home also, you can make sujood as well, if you have wudu. I would also advise that all of you, inshallah, also attend the fiqh class in your life sometime. Now to take wudu and salah. Like even though you know, think you know, you won't always know the final details in your subjects. So I think that so just make sure you study. I think Abdul Rahman Khan has one at the moment. I think it's called Essential Salah at Rangara. But do attend the fiqh class sometime in your life, inshallah. See what happens at the fiqh in the madrasa is pitched at a very low level. You don't always learn the detail. Like if I ask you what are the arkan of salah now, like it's hard for you to like know that. You know how to make salah, but you don't know all the differentiation. Like what are the ab'ad salah? What's a ba'd? Like when do you make sujood? What is sujood sahwi? When do you make sujood sahwi? You know what I mean? Like there's lots of like madrasa will just teach you very, very, very basics, but there's a lot of questions, so those must be dealt with in the fiqh class. So do attend one sometime in your life. Maybe Mizan will have one day, inshallah. فَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ. So Allah is asking the question, why, when the Quran is recited upon them over and over, la yasjudun, they do not prostrate, they do not submit, they do not give in, they do not surrender to the Quran. You see, when you are forming thought and when you're having discussions, you have to have like some certainties to come to a conclusion. Like we have to agree on some fundamentals to come to a conclusion. So generally, what's going to happen is that in Islamic like epistemology means how do we know what we know? Like how do you know what's the foundation of truth? One of your foundation of truth is going to be your senses. That if you have a sound sense, you all see the same thing. Like you all see a bottle of water, so we all agree I have a bottle of water here. This isn't a cup of coffee. Like if some of you thought there's a cup of coffee and some of you thought there's a water, then you can't have a discussion. Because would you like a cappuccino? Like it's problematic. So in other words, your senses are going to be one of the foundations of knowledge. And the other foundation of knowledge is going to be also a sound intellect. A sound intellect, what that means, a long discussion. And then your other foundation of knowledge is going to be basically the revelation. And revelation, there's two elements to it. The one element is that it comes from a person who's always truthful, which is a messenger. And it is transmitted by a group that cannot lie. Meaning what? That when news is carried by a large number of people, it becomes an impossibility for it to be a lie. When a group is covered by a sufficiently large number of people, and from different sources, it becomes impossible for it to become a lie. A typical example here is that how many of you have been to Hawaii? Does Hawaii exist? You've never been there. So how do you know it exists? You've never been there, you've never seen there, never caught the wave there, nothing. So how do you know it exists? There's a sufficient number of sources. You know, you learned it at school, maybe someone traveled there, you heard it in the news, or different news stations. There's so many reports, it becomes almost impossible for it to be a lie. But now someone asks, like, did they land on the moon? Land on the moon. How many sources came from there? The originals, when we say sources, we mean a source that witnessed it. You with me? Not the source that transmits it. Because you can have one witness and many transmitters. We're talking about the original witness. You with me? So therefore, that thing I think we did a Ulum Quran. We lost the Ulum Quran in this class 6 years ago, 5 years ago. We'll do one day, inshallah. That is called Mutawatir. So you with me? The point I wanted to make was that in their time, obviously, there's no Mutawatir because they're living with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they're relying on the person who cannot lie, basically, which is the Prophet. So in any discussion, you have to have some sort of fixed reference points to come to a conclusion. Like fixed points of, otherwise you can't come to a conclusion because no one agrees on anything. So for us and for believers, the Quran is a fixed reference point. When we have a discussion about life, about decisions, about idea, about reality, say we have a discussion about gender. You can have many reference points, what people are thinking, saying, academics, world trends. But I will accept the Quran as a reference point. And if the Quran is going to refer to two genders, I'm going to say that I make sujood to that. I accept that as my worldview. You with me? And if you have a different worldview, you have to say, why do you say that based on a fixed reference point? So the Quran has an authority above human discourse, above human thought. Like human thought in the end surrenders to the Quran. And there's a lot of peace in that. Because like if you're like a person who thinks a lot, it's very hard not to have something to anchor you. Because then you always feel unsettled, like, I don't know what is right. And I'm so many people and so many thoughts, and I feel totally confused. And if you're confused about everything, like if you're confused about whether Allah exists, you're confused about who you are, you're confused about what your purpose is, you're confused about every single thing, it's a source of enormous distress, actually. So to have authority is actually a great blessing in your life. And that's why students generally are very attached to the teachers, because the teachers provide them with stability, like anchors. And the better the teacher, the more stability, because the more evidence they bring, the more anchoring they bring. And then that just creates like peace in your life, because I have a fixed point of reference. You know, I've been given the ayat, the hadith, the views of the scholars, and I attach myself to that, and that's my source and my point of peace. Now, so in the legacy of Mawta rahimahullah is that when you teach people, it has to be evidence-based. It's not about listening to what your teacher says because your teacher said so. It's always an evidence-based discussion, which means that even some points you might even disagree with your teacher, but you're disagreeing based on the same evidence platform. And for our time, that is the most powerful approach. You can't just be also, my Khalifa said so, and so I will do so. You know, in our time, you must also produce the evidence. Where is your evidence, what you're saying? And once you give people access to the evidence and the guidance, that is like everything. Because you show people the right way and you tell people why that is the right way. And then the people have peace. So that is basically yasjudun, that you submit to what the Quran says. So we are blessed, we are immensely blessed to have these words. And we are immensely blessed to have the words of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like that blessing to have his exact verbatim words is an immense blessing. It will anchor this ummah for generations to come. And yes, we'll go through tribulations as people try to change those words and to to change understanding, but you can't change a Muslim. Like it's like you can't really change a Muslim. Like if you're really a believer, you can't change a Muslim because another person has no authority over you. So you can't actually change him. You can do what you want. You can delude him. You can try to confuse him. You can attack him. You can do what, but they're not going to really actually change. If you're a true believer, you're always in sujood to Allah, no matter what anybody else tells you. And this is the power of our Islam, is that we don't have, we have our strength. And so our job is that if we have that in our generation, we must make sure that the next generation understands the authority of the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ and accepts them as authorities. Because the way you undo a believing society is when they let go of the authority. And this is our mission basically as a generation. Our job is just to save ourselves, yes, but also to preserve Islam for the next generation. That's our collective responsibility. And it's going to become a harder and harder battle as time goes by, but alhamdulillah, for the hard battles is greater rewards. No. بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ. بَلِ الَّذِينَ, bal means rather or instead. Rather or instead. Rather or instead of what? Of believing and making sujood to the Quran and submitting to the Quran. Rather, what happens? الَّذِينَ, those who kafaru, who have covered up the truth. Because kafara means to cover up. Those who have covered up the truth. Yukadhibun. Yukadhibun, you should know that now. Kadhaba, yukadhibu. Kadhaba, yukadhibu means what? To deem something a lie. To deny. To deem something a lie. Yukadhibu, you go down, yukadhibuna. They are denying continuously, over and over. They are deeming the Prophet ﷺ, they're deeming revelation to be a lie. Wallahu a'lamu, and Allah is a'lam, and Allah is more knowledgeable. Allah is more knowledgeable. Be about ma, that which yu'un. What's yu'un? A wi'a is a container. So a yu'un literally means that which they contain, that which is inside of them, that which is contained inside of them. Meaning what? Allah knows yes, their actions and their speech, but Allah also knows what lies deep in their hearts. And what lies deep in many people's hearts is a recognition of the truth, but the unwillingness to submit to the truth. Allah knows what is contained in their hearts. فَبَشِّرْهُمْ. Second bab again. Bashara, yubashiru, tabshiran, yubashiru, basharan. Bashir means what? Give glad tidings. There's a strange one here. فَبَشِّر, the amr is for one male, referring to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bashirhum. Give them the glad tidings. Of what? Be of adabin, a punishment, alimin, a painful punishment. So why is glad tidings a painful punishment?
Many perhaps not here that you would just announce rather than give glad tidings.
Announce it, but I'm saying the word it means to give glad tidings. So it's actually a form of sarcasm in the Quran. It's like a form of sarcasm in the Quran. It's like almost like an extra like rebuke. Like you don't want to believe, you don't want to submit, you don't want to make sujood. I'll give you the glad tidings of al-Fajr. You with me? Like it's like a form of rebuke basically to them. No. Illa alladhina. Who will not have the punishment? Illa alladhina. Because the whom is, you mustn't be confused with the whom. The whom means them, the mushrikun. Illa alladhina, who will not get adabun alim. Illa alladhina, except those who amanu, who believe, wa amilu salihat. I mean, the one other thing that comes up is that Allah mentioned first, فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنُ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. There's also two elements there. That is that yu'minun means to affirm the truth. And sujood generally is actually a physical submission. So in a sense, there's a parallel there between amanu and amilu salihat. Because yu'minun means you believe, and yasjud means you physically submit with your life, with your limbs, with your choices, with your words, with your actions. You with me? So there is actually a nice parallel between this and illa alladhina amanu yu'minun wa amilu salihati yasjuduna lil Quran. Physically submit to the Quran. So amilu salihat means to physically do something which is good. What will happen for them? Lahum ajrun ghayru mamnoon. The ajr there is actually the mubtada and the lahum is the khabar. The khabar there is for exclusivity, for takhsis. It's brought forward, it's muqaddam. Qaddama yuqaddimu taqdeeman muqaddamun. The khabar is muqaddam, which means the khabar is brought forward litakhsis because it is exclusive. Lahum, for them and for them only, is an ajr, is a reward which is ghayru mamnoon. Ghayru, which is not mamnoon, as mamnoon mean.
Ending.
There's two meanings of mamnoon. The one meaning, and we end this inshallah, Allah says, La tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha. Do not invalidate your sadaqah, your generosity, bil man. Man means when you make someone feel indebted to you. Like you give someone a gift and say, here's a gift for you, but you keep reminding them, how's that thing I gave you? You know what I mean? That's man. Well, adha means harm. So yeah, you can get something into it, you can get something and you feel indebted, like, I gave this, I owe this person something. Or you get something and you just like, it's freely given. So the one thing here is that ajrun ghayru mamnoon, it's given to you and there's no like indebtedness on your side. Why? Because you already worked for it. You already worked your life and here Jannah is given to you and you don't feel like you're like indebted, like you have some responsibility, like you have some weight. It's almost like a weightless gift. You with me? It feels weightless, like the gift is just given. Like there's karam in there. That's giving with karam. Giving with karam is that you give someone and they feel like they owe you nothing. That's the way you must give. They feel like they owe you nothing. No. Or mamnoon can also mean maqtu. Maqtu means what? Qata'a maqtu means to end, to cease, to be cut off. It is an ajr which is not cut off. And if you put both those meanings together, it's very beautiful. You get an ajr which is given by Allah Ta'ala freely, that you enjoy completely, that you feel no indebtedness towards. You feel no weight of burden towards. It's just given to you and saying, there, I give and you enjoy. And that enjoyment that you have is what? Ghayru mamnoon, it is also never cut off. So that feeling never leaves you. That enjoyment never leaves you that Allah gives to you. It's not like, okay, I have a few minutes, I have to go back again. It's just given completely. This is ghayru mamnoon. Well, make us from those who get the ajrul ghayru mamnoon. It is never cut off and is given to us with completeness. Allahu Ameen. With that, we end the surah. May Allah give us the blessings and understanding of the surah and forgive us for any shortcomings in the surah. In next week, inshallah, we'll start Surah Buruj. Again, encouragement, please memorize these surahs. I guarantee you are able to memorize them easily within a week. Easily. And then recite them every week, recite them continuously. It's going to make a huge difference in your salah. I want to ask who has memorized. I want to see all the hands up again, inshallah. Okay, so make an effort to memorize. If you're in the chat group, please make a tick list there who will memorize. No, I mean just motivate each other, inshallah. This is what we must do also. Is that we often like motivate each other for other stuff, like here's a nice recipe, and here's a sale here by Woolworths, and here you can get fit here, and here you can get, I mean, we encourage people for the dunya, must encourage people also for the akhirah, not like in a jajjarah way, like, did you memorize? I memorized already. But like we motivate each other, like let's do a verse a day, and we bismillah, and we move towards it, inshallah. Like to memorize the Quran, is to get the gift from Allah Ta'ala that's invaluable. To get one verse into your heart memorized is nur in your heart. Because you have nothing in the Quran like an abandoned house. But if you add one ayah, you're adding nur to your house and light and illumination. So take a few ayat and memorize, inshallah. Especially Ramadan's coming, so we're preparing, inshallah. May Allah bless and protect. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.